Aside from playing games, one of my major hobbies is making them. Well, trying to anyway. I started programming about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years ago, when we were studying matrices in maths for maybe the 3rd time or something. And my teacher kept saying that they could be applied to all sorts of things, and one of those things was the way that light fell in games. And I thought, well, I do maths, maybe I can program games. And I was interested when I was younger, and I sort of, every now and then I'd go, you know what, I'm going to try to learn programming, and I'd sort of look at it for 5 minutes and go, no, it's too complicated, and run away. So I tried starting myself off a bit more simply this time, like the basics of programming, and I thought, right, I'm just going to get programming sorted, and then when I'm really good at that, I'm going to start making games. And that plan lasted for a whole of about maybe 3 weeks. After a couple of weeks of just doing basics, I'd kind of just gone, well, let's make a game now. I'm bored of the basics, let's make a game. So now I made my first game, which was a text adventure game called Text Quest, inventively enough. It's a very basic text adventure, and it's the first game I programmed. So it's not perfect, but it's pretty good. I'm still quite proud of it. I made a sequel, Text Quest 2, which is basically Text Quest but bigger and with slightly more advanced programming behind it, and I've been working on Text Quest 3 for almost a year now, and that's got much more advanced programming behind it. It's got a huge, well, a fairly huge, a huge world for a text adventure, and hopefully I'll get that finished at some point. I love Text Quest, but I want to do other things as well. So I've recently started working with Visual Basic and JavaScript. And in fact the reason I wanted to film this today was that I'm just about to put a JavaScript game that I've made on the internet, on my blog site. So I thought it'd be pretty cool to kind of show it off and sort of take you through the various stages of this game's development very quickly. I mean, I can't go into too much detail in the actual code, but I will show you sort of the building blocks that got me from my starting idea to the game that it's turned out to be, and probably won't still be by the time people watch this, because I'll have changed it. This game is based on a sort of population growth model called Conway's Game of Life. You should look it up on Wikipedia if you don't know about it. I'll give a quick demonstration here in that you have these little yellow squares, and they will evolve depending on which yellow squares are nearby them. You can have patterns like this one. If I click start there, it'll start to change. I can't remember the rules of this, but they're programmed in there, and yeah, and then they collide, it all changes. And this is kind of the first thing I made when I was making it, because I knew I wanted the game to be based around this model. So I sort of built a very basic version of it to start off with, and then I built up from there. And then I had the next stage, which was a larger grid. You can now start and stop it, and you can clear the board. This is one I made earlier. This is a very sort of special setup, because it basically, it goes on forever. It'll never decay into a blank board like that one did. So if I click start, do that. This one I've also upped the frame rate a bit, so it'll update faster. It'll do that forever. That will never stop, unless I click stop. And the next stage was to see if I could turn it into a game. So in this one we've got a little blue bit here where you've got to try and get the yellow bits to, and you've got a green bit which you are controlling. See if so if we move around there, then that will kind of completely mess up the way that that's changing. And so that failed. Then I had the next version, which is sort of a more menu-based thing. I can't remember if I put, there's no instructions yet on this version. If we click start, we've got like a little grid of levels here. I do hope to put more levels in, possibly by the time this video is uploaded. So if we go on 1, there's this level again. Let's see if I can do any better than last time. I could, oh no. And yeah, it's got clear. There's no way of going back from a level once you've gone into a level in this version. And then we have the final version where it's a completed screen. We've got instructions here to explain what the hell is going on. And then there's now medals as well that you can earn for each level. And then you can sort of, it starts off actually without all the levels unlocked. So you've got your total points here, and each of these medals counts towards your points. Let's see if if finally I can do this level. And here we've got a reset button, which will. So if I do screw this up, and now I want to screw it up, I'm of course getting through the level quite capably. And then we'll see that once you get the yellow squares next to the blue squares, then your safe thing goes up. Now I've actually managed to screw it up. So if I click the reset button, it'll set it back to that. And then if we get bored, which of course we won't because it's a wonderful game that I've made, we can click the level select and choose a different level to play instead. I've completed all of these levels at least once, so they're all doable. So there's your challenge.